Hey YouTube, my name is Sven, welcome to the Metal Foundry. In my Rick Rundown I told you that I would be playing shows again with my band Hopi Roads, and for that occasion I also wanted to make this list for the guitar players among you guys that are also playing live shows, and the 5 things that I think are very important to check before you hit the stage. So without further ado, let's do this, hell yeah! So, first of all, this list is in no particular order. These are just 5 things from the top of my head that I think are very important. You should never forget to check. Because if you would do that, you could have a very bad experience on stage and a very bad show. And if you want to avoid that, you cannot miss them. So, number 1 before you leave is always check the condition of your strings. So personally, I change my strings every 2 or 3 shows, so I can always play with a fresh set of strings. And if I can, I change them before the rehearsal so they're already broken in a bit. That will take off a little bit of the top end. That is can be a bit too bright depending on the amp that you're playing with. So I would like to wear them down a bit already. So I change my strings right before rehearsal of a show. Second thing that you should never forget is check your cables. Make sure that all your cables are in working order before you go on a gig or before you go on a tour. Because if you forget it, you can have a very bad surprise as well. I, for example, had an issue with one of the cables on my pedal board, and thankfully we discovered that during the rehearsal before the shows, because otherwise I would have been in a very bad position in the midst of a set. One of the cables that I made myself with the solderless cable kit by Boss was faulty, and it can be possible that I didn't do the right thing or didn't do it the correct way, but if you want to avoid that, check them all before you put them on your pedal board, and check your pedal board before you leave for the show. And as a bonus for the cable part, always bring spare cables. You might never know if it might come in handy to help out a fellow guitar player or a fellow bass player, because sometimes you just don't have the right connector or the right cable. And if you're sharing a backline, and this is an extra bonus, the third part goes together with the second part, which is always check your setup. Check if everything is working. Check if your pedal board is switching patches, if your switcher is switching patches, if your amp is switching patches, and so on. If you're using a camper, check if everything is okay, because otherwise you can have a very bad experience as well. You don't want to be pushing the wrong button in the middle of a song and go to a complete different sound that you're used to or that you want to have. So these things are very important. Then, number 4 is get the right picks and get enough picks with you. I always tend to play with the same pick because I play with Windspear guitar picks, and I always tend to use the same guitar pick for a couple of shows because they're so sturdy, they're such of a high quality that they don't wear down that easily. Sometimes I'm a bit clumsy and the pick jumps out of my hand, and then I don't really have a spare pick with me. This happened to me with one of my first shows, so from now on I always carry a spare pick, put a spare pick on my amplifier so I can just go and grab it because I don't have a microphone stand in front of me. But this is just a heads up for you guys. And then last but not least, if you are an active guitar player, if you are a player with active pickups, or a bass player with active pickups, or a wireless player for that matter, always check your batteries, because otherwise you could also have a very bad experience. It didn't happen to me yet, but before every show I check the battery levels, or I change the batteries if I haven't used my guitar for a while. Of course, if you have a guitar tech, you have somebody who's working for you, he will check that, that's part of his job. Or if you do it yourself, make sure to keep these hints and tips and tricks in mind, because it can only make your life easier. So that is my little list. Let me know in the comment section what you think is a thing that you should never forget before you hit the stage. And tell me more about your first live experiences, or your live experiences as a guitar player as a whole, or as a bass player, or whatever, as a musician. Doesn't matter, because I'm always curious about how your guys' experiences were and what you think would be interesting or should be known by other musicians that are playing live as well. That is all for me this week. A very quick one. As I told you, we are on a very tight and busy schedule. Apologies. I promise there will be more time and longer videos after this series of shows, but in the meantime, stay tuned. I will be uploading a new video every single week. I thank you very much for watching. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you like the content that I'm creating on this channel and you want to help me grow my channel, please subscribe and click the notification bell to be notified whenever I upload a new video, which will be every single week. My name was Sven, you've been watching the Metal Foundry, and I see you in the future video. Bye.